Hey everybody, I'm sure you're wondering why I had my car up on a jack and a jack stand and the tire removed. Well, this is, if you watch my channel, this is a 2013 Chevy Cruze Eco. And if you've been watching the news, GM has had a rash of bad luck as far as recalls, some on their older products, some on their newer ones. And they just announced a recall on 2013 Chevy Cruzes with a possible bad passenger side axle shaft. And I got a notice from GM that my car is possibly one of those ones that has a bad shaft. And so the car is going into the dealer tomorrow morning for them to officially take a look at it. But there's actually a procedure for you guys to do on your own to see whether or not you have one of the bad axle shafts. Because essentially what it is, during that particular manufacturing run, and I think it was from February to July of 2013, there were actually two part suppliers, and you could either have a good shaft or you could have a bad shaft. So what it is, their GM has released the identification process, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some pictures of an actual good shaft and a bad shaft. But this shaft on my car is actually one of the bad ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the process and show you how to determine if you have a bad one or a good one, just in case you want to know before you bring it to the dealer. Because what's going on is this is early in the recall. And a lot of Cruze owners are bringing their cars back to the dealers and on their own before the notification process. And essentially what's going on is GM hasn't even manufactured the parts yet, and some of these cars have been deemed unsafe to drive until the axle has been replaced. So what's going on is some owners are bringing their cars into the dealer for a check, and it turns out that the shaft is bad, and GM is being very conservative on their process. And essentially they're instructing the dealers to take the cars until the shaft has been replaced and provide the owner with a rental. So what I want to do is, before I bring my car to the dealer tomorrow, I want to see if I had a bad shaft. Turns out I did. So I don't want any surprises when I go in. So essentially, I'm going to walk you through the process and to determine if you have a bad shaft or not. All right. So the first thing you want to do is jack the car up, put the emergency brake on, put a jack stand underneath it. Don't trust a jack by itself, and put it in neutral. So, all right. So what we're going to do is there's two things you want to look for, and let's get to the front of the axle. Alright, so this is the front of the axle, closest to the hub. So if we look at it, the first way to tell is whether you have a good shaft or a bad shaft. A good shaft, when you look at the front of the axle, in this section right here, there will be rings machined around the diameter of the shaft. So if you see those rings, you have a good shaft. If you don't, you have to move on to the next identification process in the procedure. So the next step is you have to look at the back of the shaft where it comes into the transmission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you back there. All right. So here's the second part of the back of the shaft, which is going into the transmission. Now, according to GM, the way to determine whether or not you have a bad shaft or a good shaft, in this area closest to the boot, there's going to be some identification marks. And what the identification marks are, it's either a green stripe or a green dot, right? So what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to, and this is why you want the car in neutral, you're going to rotate the shaft and see if you can see any identification marks, either, again, a green stripe or a green dot. All right. So if you had a green stripe or a green dot, that axle is good. If you see either a blue dot or nothing at all, that is the second indication that this is one of the suspect shafts and it needs to be replaced by GM. So as we're going through the rotation, you'll see I have absolutely nothing on mine. So I suspect when I bring this to my dealer tomorrow morning, they're going to say, yep, this is one of the bad shafts, and they're going to supply me with a rental until this is fixed. But the only problem is, from what I've been reading on Cruze Talk and some of the forums that from the reports from owners, there's a backlog on these axles. Some people have been waiting as long as 3 weeks. So I'm not looking forward to having my car sit at the dealer for a considerable amount of time, but if it's unsafe to drive, I'm not going to drive it. So so that's the process of walking as far as how to identify whether or not you have a bad shaft. I hope this was helpful. If there's any questions or comments or concerns, put them in the comments box and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.